Well, welcome everybody to this, our first video tarot forecast for the last half of April. I think it's even less than a half, so my apologies for being so late, but as many of you know, the ability to try and record a video with children in the house is practically impossible, so this is the first day that school is back, and so I have sat down with the intention to get this done as soon as possible. So this is very much an experiment. Please excuse my rustiness because this is the first time that I've done something like this, and we're just going to see how it goes. I'd also absolutely love your feedback. If there's anything that you would like to see, if there's anything you wouldn't like to see, anything at all that I can do to improve this, then I am very, very happy to hear what you have to say. So without further ado, I'm going to get on with the reading. I have shuffled the cards and I have them in a deck in front of me. It's my my go-to Röhrig deck that I use for my tarot casts as well. I have shuffled them with two intentions, and the first one being that that this is what you are ready to see in terms of it's bringing you something that that is coming out of the unconscious into consciousness, either that or it's something that you are very aware of, but perhaps you're seeking validation. And so this is really, I think, the most healthy way of reading with cards. And the second intention is that it puts you in the center of the reading. So the reading is for your greatest good, and then by extension for the greatest good of everyone and everything connected to you. And so I'm now going to draw the cards, and as you know from the Patreon blurb that I put up, what we're going to do is we're going to do a 3-card reading, but with particular meanings attached to each card before we draw them. The first one is going to be what you are bringing in, so some kind of foundational card to this month. It might be actually interesting, because we're halfway through the month, to see if anything has already panned out in terms of the first half of the month. So it's what you're bringing in to this reading and to the month, and how you are meeting it. That's the first card. The second card is the inner and outer weather forecast, the current one. So it's what the foundation is. Well, the foundation is the context of the weather forecast. So that's the second card. And the third card is my intention is that it is an entirely useful and hopefully wholly practical tool that you can use in order to weather this particular forecast, whatever it is, whether it's sunny, partly cloudy, or stormy. So I'm now going to draw all 3 cards at the same time, and I'm going to draw them from the first sub-deck that I picked, and I'm just going to hold them up to the screen. I may teach myself some editing so that you actually have the cards in front of you on the screen while we're talking, so that I can do some kind of stylistic cut. But for the time being, I just want to get this reading out as soon as possible. So I am going to turn them all over, but I'm only going to show you one at a time. Right, so this is the foundation. This is what you are bringing in, and we'll say that this is from the beginning of April. And that is the star. So in terms of the star, there is a sense of increased connection. There is a sense of clarity. I often like to refer to what is implied in the reading in terms of preceding and proceeding cards in the actual deck itself that aren't in the reading. But if you know the tarot deck, then the card that comes before the star in the major arcana is the Tower. So it may have been that that what you are in right now is some kind of state of rebuilding or a reconnection to something or someone or a part of you that is in the process of establishing itself after some kind of disruption that may have felt quite frankly devastating, or it may have felt disruptive, it may have felt liberating. The one thing that we know about the Tower is that there is nothing that happens that isn't necessary. So the Tower, the harder it's as hard as you hold on to whatever it is that's falling. So the more that you surrender when the tower is crumbling around you, the easier it is. And in fact, the tower can be entirely transcendent. I think we often have a lot of negatives attached with the tower, I think simply because of what's in our collective awareness about towers, whether it is the Twin Tower event or whether it's the Tower of Babel. It can feel entirely destructive, but there are also other forces at play, and that is to have an opportunity for freedom and an opportunity for reconnection to something that really matters. So this is the star. There is some kind of reconnection here to something that really matters. And this is something that you're probably aware of because this is the foundation to this reading. And then in terms of the inner and outer weather forecast, so in other words, this is the foundation. The card that you are going to be meeting this with is virtue. So this to me feels really quite clear, and that is that after this period of reconnection to something, and if you notice, and I'm not sure with, I'm recording on QuickTime, so everything's reversed, which is not like I would normally do with a Skype call or something like that, so hopefully it's going to come out the right way. But in terms of the star, she's looking away from what's currently going on in the forecast. It's almost as if she's focused on something and needing to maybe look after it or keep an eye on it, so that you can get about doing the rest of your business, which is the Three of Wands here. So there is this reconnection into the idea of picking something up, re-establishing yourself, and forging your own way in your world. So this is really about having that clarity to go, oh, I know now. I know now what I must do. I know now where I must go. And as you can see, the figure in the card is very much, they're on their own. They have this beautiful plume coming out, these plumes of awareness, because this is wands, this is energy, this is creative energy. It's almost as if there's something growing there as a result of the star, which also has that light source. And anyone who's familiar with the Röhrig deck will know that light sources are really important in this deck. So there is this cosmic reconnection with something, with an aspect of your soul, which is the star, which is a transpersonal major arcana card, which is then being played out in your own world, where you have a sense of your own integrity and what that means and what that looks like in terms of your journey. Now, that may be an outward journey, it may be a professional journey, it may be a relationship journey, it may only be an inner journey, but either way, there's going to be some kind of outcome with the card that is having an impact on your physical life, and it's not necessarily that you're going to be alone, but it is the understanding that you are always alone in terms of your own journey. Even if you have somebody walking with you, it happens to be that their journey is accompanying your own. But really, when it comes down to it, nobody can live your life the way that you can. And if you live your life on somebody else's terms, then that isn't going to work. And the Three of Wands, or virtue, is the deeply felt, energetic, sort of down to the very bones of you, understanding that that you and you alone are responsible for creating your experience, and by extension then your physical reality. And so these cards really, they work beautifully in terms of the colors, in terms of the way that there is a balance between soul and action, between major and minor, and also a balance between a card that comes very late on in the major arcanas, which is the star, and a card that comes very early on in the tarot deck as a whole, which is the Three of Wands, which is essentially the third card in the tarot deck. So there's something very new and young coming out of perhaps a struggle that has been really a long time in the making. And this particular kind of release with this struggle is something that is possibly really quite recent. And it may be that you're not entirely sure of what's happening right now, actually. And one of the reasons I say that is because neither of the figures is facing us, and they're also facing away from each other. So there is a sense of having to regroup or find yourself or find your locale within your own life, and not in anyone else's, not in the outside world, but in the inside world. and trying to get used to something that really has fundamentally changed. And it may be that you're also saying to yourself, well, how could it have changed? Or I don't believe it's changed, or I've been up against this for so long, I just have no idea whether it has. This card, or these two cards, are making it clear that something really has changed. And it might just be that your awareness, your mind, is going to, and your heart as well, because this is Wands and this is Major Arcana. These are both cards that are really to do with largely invisible forces. It might be that your heart and your mind have to catch up on this journey, on this particular journey where it's like one of those ones where you wake up from perhaps a bad dream or a very destabilizing dream, and it takes a while for you to get into the idea that you're awake now and you're not part of that anymore, or that life is going on and it's different. So life very much is going on, and it very much is different, and this is different not only on a day-to-day detail level, but also very much on a fundamental soul-based level. There is a part of you that's different. And again, you may not be immediately aware of it, but it is there. And you will see that playing out the more that you follow your own integrity and your own path, which is this idea of virtue. So the inner and outer weather forecast for you right now is to go your own way. That's not necessarily throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It is not necessarily saying, well, that's it, I'm out of here. It is rather more a sense of quietly following what it is that draws you, that is your own adventure, that is your own path. And it may mean that the outer detail of your life changes not much at all, but there is an alignment inside you that is very much more in integrity, because that clearing out of the tower has led to this greater connection in the star. So now you have a tool to use to navigate all of this. Now this is an interesting one because it's something that isn't immediately intuitive as a tool. And that is the Eight of Swords, interference. So in this particular deck, it really is quite a striking and vivid card. And actually, if you put it in the order of the cards there, and in fact, I will send a picture of this so that if it comes out back to front, you're actually going to still be able to see things correctly. I have no idea whether this video corrects or not. Again, so there is this idea of, so there's that figure in the third, in the Three of Wands, who's now seems to be sitting down, but this is the tool. This is what to do. So I think that we can see this in either of two ways. The first one is to take it absolutely literally, and to throw out the entire meaning of the Eight of Swords normally, is that, or to partially throw it out. So in other words, to stay where you are for a moment. If there is a moment of confusion, because Eight of Swords is about confusion, it is about mental overwhelm, it is about being trapped in your own thoughts, as you can see here, that things are bigger than they are. They can sometimes be quite grotesque. It can sometimes be a perversion of what it is that feels real. And if that is exactly what feels like is going on, because this may be that period of adjustment because of this profound change, and then that can create a sort of swing back in another direction, and so that things go from being new to being surreal to being, oh my goodness, what the hell is going on here? Then I think one of the ways of interpreting this card is really to stop if there is confusion, and wait until the path corrects itself. Because I often say this with this particular version of the Eight of Swords, there is only one path. It may look like there are two massive figures, and there may look like there are two paths and there are two suns, but actually there is only one path. It's almost as if you've gone a little bit cross-eyed for the time being, and it's really a matter of sort of shaking your head out and readjusting your vision. So in other words, your analysis of a situation to get your thoughts cleared in order to move. So I really think that that's the most effective way of looking at this, is to keep still. Or another one is not necessarily to keep still, and you'll know this. You'll know if it's the right one. You'll sense it, because you've got the Three of Wands, which is very much a bodily active kind of sensate card. is you'll feel it in your body, whether it is to keep still and wait until your eyes have stopped blurring over, or that it seems that there's some confusion about where you go, or you get up and you go. And you just keep going, no matter what it is that anyone or anything says to you, no matter what it is that you tell yourself that you ought to be believing or that you should be buying into, particularly if it's fear-based or confusing or in some way controlling, or it feels like it is asking you to give up the integrity that you've just found, is that you keep going, because in truth, as you can see, there is only one path. I hope that that's been useful for you. Please, as I said, give me any feedback that you would like to give. I would welcome everything and anything. And I am going to upload this as soon as I can. And the next video tarot forecast will be in good time at the beginning of May. May this reading give you exactly what you most need right now. Thank you, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye.